Paraphrasing Jenn McCabe, "Sir, you are trying to spin it your way." In paraphrasing Jackson's response, "The judge is here, so I can't spin it too much." This was exchanged in court today. Welcome to the Roundup, True Crime with Mike. Here I give you an update to current cases so you can quickly catch up on today's or this week's happenings on some public cases. It was only a half day today after having yesterday off from the court. We are talking day 15 of the Karen retrial, and we are only had one witness on the stand for today, and it was just for the cross-examination of Jenn McCabe. Defense attorney Jackson has had a bit of a pattern to opening with something like, quote, "Is there anything you would like to change in your testimony?" But today, he opened with this against Jenn. Let's listen.
Whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. McCabe, family is important to you, is it not?
Yes.
As a matter of fact, it's probably fair to say that family is one of the most important things in your life.
Yes.
You indicated on Friday that you know John O'Keefe, or you knew John O'Keefe, and you considered him a friend.
Yes.
You also indicated that you know Miss Reed, and at some point you considered her a friend.
Yes.
But clearly, John O'Keefe was not family, was he?
No.
He was not a McCabe, correct?
No.
He was not an Albert.
No.
Karen Reed is not family, correct?
Correct.
Not a McCabe.
No.
She's not an Albert.
No.
Ms. McCabe, when you were at Waterfall on the evening of the 28th, going into the early morning hours of the 29th, you spent some time with John O'Keefe and Karen Reed.
Correct.
You didn't see any tension between the two of them at the time?
No.
Matter of fact, they seemed like a normal couple to you?
I didn't see them interact much.
They were both engaging with you, correct?
I had separate conversations with them.
So John O'Keefe, we've seen from several videos, I'm not going to play the video, John O'Keefe was situated for the most part over in that corner as the camera is looking, the right corner of the bar, along with you, Nicole O'Keefe, I think Matt McCabe was over there as well, correct?
I can't be sure, but I know I spoke to Karen.
So you can see that he was trying to go after Jenn for trying to protect family instead of telling the truth. The theme today was definitely that Jenn is covering up the big story, which was that John went into the house and something happened. Several major issues were talked about on cross-examination. The first one was what happened in the Waterfall bar. Jackson was crossing Jenn on how much she talked with Karen that night and how good of a mood Karen was in that night. Then, when they left the bar, Jackson was trying to say that Jenn tried to get Karen to come with her, but Jenn said no, and Karen left with John. The second big issue was where Jenn saw Karen's SUV and if she was consistent with her in that story. The question was what and where the exact spots that Jenn saw the SUV. The other issue was that Brian Higgins' Jeep and snowplow was in front of the house and that Jenn didn't mention seeing Brian's Jeep there early on and just seeing Karen's SUV. Jenn said that she saw the SUV in front of the door, which was a bit to the left of the driveway and would give room for a Jeep to be in front of the door and the driveway. The theme, like several of these, is if Jenn is off by several small details, then she must be off on the big details. Next up was Chloe the dog. Jackson questioned whether Jenn saw the dog in the morning when Jenn came to tell Brian and Nicole that John was in the lawn. Jenn said that she didn't remember the dog. The argument from the defense is that the dog was involved in the attack, so if the dog wasn't there in the morning, that they were already hiding the dog. Then came questions about Ryan's car and the SUV. It was the questions about timing and when the cars arrived at the house. The defense team wants an earlier arrival for Karen's SUV, so more chance for John to get in the house. Next came the number of times and places that Karen told people that she hit John, whether it was on the first phone call, on the way to John's house, at John's house, or on the ride to the Alberts, and then when the paramedics showed up. But then later Jackson complained that Jenn didn't tell anyone that Karen said that. Jackson pointed out that Jenn said Karen said it 12 times that morning. Next, Jackson played the 911 clip where Jenn said that John got out of the car. He asked Jenn how she knew John got out of the car, and Jenn said that Karen told her. Next clip was another call, but it was hard to hear to know what they wanted on that one. A quarter of this morning's cross went after the investigation of the incident, and Jackson was really trying to hit it hard that Jenn was trying to steer the direction in the way she wanted. First was the group text about the things that were said. One of the ones he stressed was that after Carrie Roberts, who we will probably hear from tomorrow, talked to the cops, Jenn sent out a group text that said, "Carrie told everything." Jackson was trying to hint that Carrie was spilling the beans, but Jenn said no, it was about something else. Jackson went into why some of these were in text, and Jenn said that sometimes kids read the text and that the things were personal about Karen and John and wanted it to be discussed in person instead of the text. Jackson also talked about how Carrie and Jenn went over to one of the police officers' house investigating the incident on January 30th. They had a 45-minute talk with the wife of Michael Link in the car in front of the house. Jenn said they went there to drop off Carrie's daughter, then the wife came out. Then came the investigations where there were several times that the officers talked with Jenn and Carrie. Carrie did at least one of those interviews at Jenn's house while Jenn and her family were having dinner. Jackson is insinuating that Jenn was making sure that Carrie was sticking with the unofficial story by listening in. It was funny that several times Jenn joked about how Carrie likes to talk and talk. Then Jackson brought up that some interviews that Jenn and her daughter had with the DA. Some had multiple people, some with less. It doesn't seem that notes were taken. Jenn said that these meetings were just to discuss next steps. Then came discussion about the calls and texts from Jenn to John that night. He was talking about the unanswered calls that started around 12:30 and went to like 12:50. There were about 6 of them. Jenn said that they were either butt dials or didn't remember making them. Jackson then went into a line of inquiry about how when you are searching for a phone, you will call it repeatedly. Jackson was hinting that she was searching for John's phone. There was definitely more to the discussion today if you want to check out all 4 hours of it. And I think we have a good 2 hours more of cross tomorrow. Then I believe that Carrie Roberts will get on the stand and tell her story of what happened that morning. If you haven't checked that out, please listen to my interview with Brett about trial strategy and what both sides are trying to accomplish in this trial. Thank you. Thank you for listening to an episode of The Roundup. Be safe out there, and remember, don't do anything bad that will end up on one of my episodes.